We're going to use algebraic expressions to solve word problems. So in example 1, we're given the statement 10 more than twice a number is negative 8. What is this number? If I look within the statement itself, so we have this 10 more, so I'm thinking, okay, we're adding 10, and then we have twice a number, so I'm thinking we're going to multiply by 2, and I need a variable which I'll call x. So x is my variable. So if I'm saying 10 more than twice a number, that indicates I'm first multiplying by 2, and then I'm adding 10 second. And in the rest of the sentence, we have that 10 more than twice a number is negative 8. I'll put an equal sign for is and negative 8 on the other side. And what we've done is translate this sentence into an equation. So now we don't really have to worry about the sentence. It's just a matter of, can I solve this equation for the variable x? So looking here, I want to get x by itself. So I guess I will subtract 10 from both sides first. I get 2x is equal to negative 18. I'll divide both sides by 2. And my answer is negative 9. It must be that negative 9 is the number that when you double it and add 10, it gives you negative 8. We could even check this just to make sure. So we could double it and add 10 and just verify, just make sure that it is in fact negative 8. And it will work because 2 times negative 9 is negative 18. And negative 18 plus 10 is negative 8. So this is in fact a true statement, meaning x equals negative 9 is in fact the solution. Okay, so for example 2, this one I think is going to be a little more complicated by the way it looks. It's a couple of sentences. It says the smaller of two numbers is 5 less than half the larger number, but then we have also the sum of the two numbers is 16. I think first I'm going to note that, well, we have two numbers here. There's a smaller and a larger number. So I'm going to define this just a little bit more carefully, where x is going to be my smaller number and y will be the larger number. Before I just put x just as a reference, like, okay, that's my variable, but here I have to be just a little bit more careful just to make sure I define them carefully. If I read the first sentence, the smaller of the two numbers is 5 less than half the larger number. The things that kind of jump out are this. Well, I have the smaller number, the smaller of two numbers is, so I know I can set up an equation. So I have this 5 less than half. So I'm subtracting 5 and I'm dividing by 2. So that is the smaller number is, x is, it's 5 less than half the larger number. Half the larger number is y divided by 2, and 5 less means subtract 5 from it. Great. This equation is the same thing as the first sentence. Now if I look at the second sentence, okay, also, the sum of the two numbers is 16. So if I add these two together, the result has to be 16. And that equation is the same thing as that second sentence. So now the goal is, all right, without looking at the sentences, just use the equations to find the two numbers x and y. So to do that, let's see, we have to use these both in some way. So I see that x is the same thing as y over 2 minus 5, and x is sitting right here. What I'm going to do is take this x and replace it with y over 2 minus 5. So I'm taking this piece and I'm placing it right here. If I write this as one equation, we get y over 2 minus 5 plus y is equal to 16. So again, all that is, it's this equation, but instead of x, I put y over 2 minus 5. All I need to do now is solve this equation to figure out the value for, in this case, y. I'm going to do that by getting rid of the fractions. Like I see there's a divided by 2. So I'm going to multiply every single term by 2. So that's 2 over 1 times y over 2 minus, I'll just put, 2 times 5 plus 2 times y. And that's equal to, on the other side, 2 times 16. And I can just put that back to this, keep everything consistent, but I multiplied every term by 2. It cancels over here to leave me with just y. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times y is 2y. And if we double 16, we get 32. Okay, I think next I'm going to, on the left side, combine like terms. I have a y and a 2y, which is 3y. And I have 3y minus 10 is 32. So let's move that up here. To get y by itself, I'm going to add 10 to both sides. So I get 3y is 42. And if I divide both sides by 3, I get my final answer. Okay, so I have y, which is my larger number. I'll put that up here. But I don't know what the smaller number is. I still need to figure that out. Well, the good news is we have an equation here. X plus y has got to be 16. So let's use this piece of information. I know that if I add x and y, the answer is 16. I just figured out that y is 14. So the value of x that would make this equation true is going to be 2. So here are my two values. The smaller number is 2, and the larger number is 14. And if we want to just double check this using our other equation, if we take half of 14, we get 7, and 7 minus 5 is 2. So everything matches up with all of our equations, but the result is 2 and 14 are the two numbers that work for example 2. Okay, for example 3, again, just one more, it's a sentence that I want to translate into an equation. So let's see, 6 more than 3 times a number is the same as increasing the number by 1 and then doubling it. What is the number? So this time we are just solving for just x. There's no larger or smaller number, so I only need one variable. And since there's only one sentence, there's really only one equation that we should have to write. So I have this, I have 6 more than 3 times a number, and then I reach, is. So I'm going to, jot that down, equal sign. And I have on the left side this first part, and on the right side the second part, increasing the number by 1 and then doubling it. So on the left, we have 6 more than 3 times a number. Okay, so if I'm multiplying the number by 3, that's 3x, and 6 more would be plus 6. On the right, we're increasing the number by 1, and then the second thing we're doing is doubling it. So that will be x plus 1. I increased it by 1, and I'm doubling what I have after that. So here's my expression as an equation. 3x plus 6 is equal to 2 times all of x plus 1. So to solve this, I have to distribute on the right, and I'm going to leave 3x plus 6 alone. On the right, I do get 2x plus 2. I think what I'll do next is subtract 2x from both sides, which gives me x plus 6 is equal to 2. And the last thing to do is subtract 6 from both sides, and I get x is equal to -4. So this is the one number that, okay, we have 6 more than 3 times this value. It's the same thing as increasing it by 1 and doubling it.